There you are. I've been keeping a lookout for you. Come, sit, get yourself settled. Right here in the center of things. It's quite a night to be under a glass roof, isn't it? I thought this would be the perfect spot for us to spend the evening potting up those young ferns I told you about. They've finally outgrown their nursery beds, and they're just waiting for a bit of fresh, dark soil. In here, we have all the light we need and enough space to work at our own pace, while the rest of the world stays exactly where it belongs, on the other side of the glass. It's a rare thing to be surrounded by the elements like this, and yet not feel a single drop of the damp. If you look up, you can see the sky is dark and heavy tonight, but inside this glass sanctuary, the air is perfectly still. It isn't that strange, false heat that's been lingering lately. It's a proper, humid greenness that knows exactly what season it is. Go on, sink into that leather chair and let your weight fall back into the cushions. I know it's been a week where everything felt a bit loud, a bit heavy, where it felt like you were constantly having to check the horizon or do some difficult math in your head. But you can leave all those tallies and ledgers at the threshold. In here, the only currency that matters is the time we spend being quiet. I've kept the lanterns low, just enough of a golden pulse to keep the shadows friendly. Watch how the light catches the condensation on the panes. It creates a sort of privacy that stone walls can't manage. We're tucked away in our own little amber-lit jewel in the middle of the woods. You look like you could use a moment to simply exist without being expected to have an opinion, or a plan, or a side to take. There's a mug of something steaming on the low table beside you. I've used a bit of the dried honey root and a bruised leaf of lemon balm. It's got a way of warming you from the inside out. Just hold the ceramic for a moment. Feel that solid, grounding heat seeping into your palms. It's a simple thing, but sometimes the simple things are the only ones that stay true. I was just about to start gathering my things on the potting bench. I've been soaking the terracotta pots all afternoon. Nothing quite beats the scent of wet clay and rich earth, does it? These ferns are a bit like us, I think. Sometimes we feel a bit root-bound, as if the space we're in has become too small for all the things we're carrying. They just need a fresh start in a quiet place to feel settled again. There's a deep satisfaction in this work, but it's the slow kind. The kind that doesn't mind if we sit in a shared, comfortable silence for a while. You aren't alone in here, you're just tucked away. Rest your head back against that plaid cushion. From here, you can watch the trees swaying in the distance, great giants wrestling with the wind. But all you'll feel is the steady comfort of the shelter overhead. Even the resident garden cat has given in to the mood. Look at him over there, tucked into that cozy blanket on the counter. He isn't worried about the storm or what tomorrow looks like. He's just occupied with the rise and fall of his own breath. Take a long, slow breath for me. Can you taste the greenness in the air? It's thick and life-giving, a physical weight being lifted off your chest. Out there, things might feel a bit fragile, a bit uncertain, but in here, we are held safe behind the glass. We have everything we need right here. I'm going to start gathering my tools, the river stones, the soft moss, and the spade. You stay right where you are. Just watch the lantern flame flicker and listen to the world washing itself clean outside. We've found our safe harbor for the night, and we're in no hurry to leave it. Slow and steady. There's plenty of time for everything. Just look at this soil. I've had it sitting in these heavy burlap sacks near the stove to take the chill off. It's a special mix, rich, dark and crumbly, with just enough grit to make those fern roots feel right at home. When you run it through your fingers, it feels like velvet, doesn't it? It's funny how something so humble can hold so much potential. In a world that feels like it's constantly shifting under our feet, there's something deeply reassuring about the weight of good, honest earth. It doesn't ask for much, and it never moves faster than it needs to. I found these particular ferns at a little roadside nursery last autumn, tucked away in a valley that most people drive right past without a second thought. They looked a bit bedraggled then, shivering in the early frost, but I knew they just needed a bit of quiet and a steady hand. They've been patient with me, waiting all winter in their cramped little plastic pots, tucked away on the lower shelves. I think they knew, just like we did, that a night like this would eventually come. A night where the only thing on the agenda is to give them a bit more room to breathe. Do you see the way the lantern light pools on the wooden surface of the bench? It brings out all the nicks and scars in the grain, doesn't it? Each one of those marks is a story. A slipped trowel from years ago, a spilled jar of seeds, a forgotten cup of tea. It's a cluttered sort of piece. I know there's a lot of pressure out there to keep everything pristine, to have every ledger balanced and every corner dusted. But I've always felt that a workbench should look like it's been lived in. It's okay to have a few scuffs. It's okay to be a little weathered by the seasons. I'm just going to reach for this first bag here. Can you hear the soft crinkle of the burlap? It's a stout, sturdy sound. I'll just loosen the twine and let the scent of the earth fill the space between us. It's a deep, ancient smell, the scent of things growing, even when it's dark outside. It reminds me that no matter how loud the wind gets or how high the water rises, the ground beneath us remains. We spend so much of our time worrying about numbers that don't even exist in the physical world. But this is real. You can feel the dampness of it, the cool gravity of it. I've laid out a few extra tools for us. See that small copper spade catching the light? It's been handed down through a few gardeners before it found its way to me. It's got a balance to it that makes the work feel less like a chore and more like a rhythm. We aren't going to rush through this. We're going to take our time with each fern, making sure the roots are gently teased out, not forced. It's a delicate transition, moving from a small space to a large one. It takes a bit of trust. If you look over toward the back of the bench, you'll see the terracotta pots waiting for their turn. They've been soaking up the humidity, turning that deep, burnt orange colour that looks so beautiful against the green. They aren't worried about next week or the price of the things they need. They just exist in the now. And tonight, we're going to do the same. I'll just start by placing a few of these smooth river stones in the bottom of the first pot. Listen to that, the hollow clink against the clay. It's the first step in building a good foundation. We'll make sure the drainage is just right so they never have to worry about their feet getting too wet. It's the little things, isn't it? The small, quiet gestures of care that make a place feel like home. Just keep your eyes on that golden glow on the soil. We're just getting started, and there's a wonderful stillness ahead of us. We'll just begin with the smallest one first. There. Now you can see exactly what we're working with. I've cleared a proper space for us right here at the center of the bench, where the lantern light is steadiest. Just look at that stack of terracotta. They're a bit weathered, aren't they? I like the way they look when they've seen a few seasons. The salt of the earth leaves those white, swirling patterns on the clay, making each one feel like it has a history of its own. It's a sturdy sort of beauty. It doesn't need to be perfect to be exactly what these ferns need. Go on, reach out and touch that pile of moss I've gathered. It's so soft, it almost feels like a living carpet. I spent a good part of the morning yesterday, before the weather turned, collecting it from the shaded side of the old stone wall. It's still holding on to a bit of that deep woodland dampness. We'll use this to line the top of the pots once we're finished. It acts like a little blanket, keeping the moisture in and the roots cool, just the way they like it. There's something so grounding about the texture of it. It doesn't demand anything from you. It just sits there, green and quiet, offering its own little world of softness. I've also brought over my favorite copper watering can. It's a small thing, but it's got a lovely weight to it when it's full. See how the lantern light dances on the polished metal? It's been with me a long time. In a week where so many things feel like they're made of plastic or glass that might shatter at any moment, there's a comfort in copper. It's reliable. It's been bruised and buffed, yet it still holds water just as well as the day it was forged. I think we're all a bit like that sometimes, carrying a few dents, maybe feeling a bit worn thin by the noise of the world, but still entirely capable of doing the good work we were meant for. I'm just going to start by taking this first little fern, the one in the smallest nursery pot, and gently turning it over in my hand. Can you hear that soft thump as the root ball slides free? There we go. See how the roots have started to spiral? They're just looking for a bit of room to stretch. I'm going to use my thumb to just lightly tickle them loose, very slowly. We aren't in any rush. The storm is still drumming against the glass, and our tea is still warm in the mug right there, beside your hand. It's a bit like life, isn't it? Sometimes we get so used to our own little cramped corners that we forget there's a whole wide world outside our current worries. We do the math, we check the ledgers, and we wonder if there's enough of anything to go around. But here, in this garden house, there is plenty. Plenty of soil, plenty of time, and plenty of room to grow. We'll just place this one right in the center of its new clay home and begin to tuck the dark earth around it, bit by bit. Just watch my hands for a moment as I work. The soil is so dark it almost looks black against the orange of the pot. It's a messy process, but a good one. I don't mind getting a bit of dirt under my fingernails. It feels like a fair trade for the peace this place gives us. You stay right there in that pocket of light. You don't have to lift a finger tonight. You've done enough already. Just let the rhythm of the work and the scent of the wet moss settle over you like a heavy quilt. We're just beginning to find our pace now. See how this little frond is already starting to settle into its new place. It's a small start, but a sure one. Just look at this little one. It's the smallest of the lot. Do you see that tiny, intricate frond right at the center? It's only just beginning to unfurl, coiling upward in that perfect, tight spiral. It reminds me that even when the world outside feels like it's moving far too fast, nature has its own clock, one that doesn't care about deadlines or the rush of the wind against the glass. It takes exactly as long as it needs to open, and not a second less. There's a quiet strength in that kind of patience, isn't there? A reminder that we, too, are allowed to take our time to unfold. I've placed it here on the weathered grain of the bench, right next to these old gardening shears. They're a bit rustic, I know. The metal is dark with age, and the handles have been worn smooth by years of work, but they've never failed me. There's something deeply comforting about tools that have stood the test of time. In a week where so many things feel like they might snap under the slightest pressure, these shears feel heavy and honest in the hand. They've seen plenty of storms from inside these glass walls, and they'll see plenty more. And look here, in this wooden bowl. I've gathered a few handfuls of smooth river stones from the creek bed. Can you see how the lantern light catches the soft greys and muted blues of the rock? They've been tumbled by the water for years, until every sharp edge has been worn away. I like to keep them close by when I'm potting. We'll tuck a few of them into the soil to give the pot a bit of weight and to help the water find its way through. They're cold to the touch, a sharp contrast to the warmth of the candle glowing in that little glass lantern beside us. Just watch how that single candle flame flickers. It's so small compared to the vast, dark woods stretching out beyond the panes, yet it holds its own. It's a steady, golden pulse that anchors this entire corner of the garden house. I think we all need a light like that sometimes. Something small and constant that doesn't ask for much, but keeps the shadows at bay while we find our footing. I'm going to use these shears just to trim away one tiny browned leaf at the base of the fern. Can you hear that? The soft, clean snip against the silence. It's a tiny gesture, but it gives the plant so much more energy to put toward that new growth at the center. It's okay to let go of the things that aren't serving us anymore. The old worries, the heavy thoughts, the noise that keeps us from sleeping. We can just snip them away one by one and leave them here on the workbench. I'll reach into the bowl now and pick out a few of the flattest stones. Listen to the way they clatter softly against each other, a dry, stony music. We'll place them carefully around the base of the stem, right on top of the dark soil. It gives the fern a sense of being settled, as if it's tucked into its own little private gully deep in the forest. You stay right where you are, nestled in that chair. I hope you're feeling a bit of that same weightlessness now, as if the sharp edges of your day are being worn smooth, just like these river stones. We're not in any hurry to move on. We'll just stay here in this close-up moment for a while, focusing on the curve of the leaf and the glow of the wick. The rest of the garden house is in shadow, but this little circle of light is ours. It's a safe place for small things to grow and for tired minds to finally rest. See how the new frond seems to reach toward the light? It knows it's safe here, and so do you. We'll just let that little one rest there in its circle of light for a moment, while we move over here, closer to the stove. Do you feel that? The air is a bit different in this corner of the glasshouse, drier, and carries the sharp, sweet scent of burning cedar. I thought we might reset ourselves here before we finish the rest of the potting. It's important to find these little pockets of warmth, especially when the world outside is so determined to be cold and grey. I've pulled a smaller stool up for you, right next to this stack of old botanical books. Look at the one on top. The leather is so worn, it feels like velvet. And you can see the gold leaf lettering has almost faded into the grain. I spend a lot of time with these during the long winters. They don't have any breaking news in them, and they don't ask you to make any difficult choices. They just quietly document the way a leaf curves, or the specific shade of a flower petal. There's a wonderful, unshakable certainty in that. No matter how much the world out there might seem to be losing its way, the cycle of the green remains exactly as it has always been. The kettle is just starting to sing on top of the iron stove. Can you see that thin white plume of steam dancing up toward the glass? It's such a delicate, fleeting thing compared to the heavy sheets of rain pressing against the panes from the other side. But it's enough. In a week that might have felt a bit unmoored. I know there's a lot of noise lately, a lot of talk about things that feel far too big for any of us to hold. But here, the only thing that truly matters is the temperature of the tea and the steady crackle of the wood behind that little glass door. I've placed a few of the more established ferns over here on the floor, near the logs. See how their shadows stretch out across the flagstones in the orange light. They've found their own rhythm, tucked away from the draft. It's okay if you feel like doing the same. You don't have to be productive every single minute of the night. Sometimes the most important thing you can do is just sit still and watch the steam rise. I'm just going to reach for the teapot. It's that heavy copper one that matches the watering can on the bench. Listen to the way the water gurgles as I pour. It's a deep, resonant sound. I'll add a few more of those dried lemon balm leaves I have tucked into that jar on the shelf. The heat from the stove is drawing out the oils now, filling this corner with a scent that's both bright and grounding. It's a bit of a reset for the senses. If you look through the glass behind the stove, you can see the trees in the distance are still wrestling with the wind, their branches dark and frantic against the bruised sky. But in here, the light from the stove's belly is casting a steady, flickering glow over everything we need. We're in a bubble of our own making. It doesn't cost anything to be here, and the math of the outside world, the prices, the ledgers, the endless tallies, they just don't have any weight in this light. Just take a sip of that tea while it's hot. Feel the steam on your face and the warmth of the mug in your hands. We'll just stay here for a few minutes, letting the heat from the iron settle into our bones. The rest of the ferns are waiting patiently back at the bench, but they aren't in any hurry, and neither am I. We've found a bit of balance here between the fire and the rain. We'll just let the quiet do its work for a little while longer. There's no need to move until you're ready. There we go. I've brought the last few ferns back over to the main bench, right where the lantern light is warmest. Just look at the way the storm has settled in now. The woods outside are nothing but a blurred, blue-grey wash against the glass. It's a bit like looking at a painting that hasn't quite dried yet. It makes this little circle of ours feel even more solid, doesn't it? Like we're the only two people left in a world made of light and green leaves. I'm just going to set this larger fern down between us. It's a bit more unruly than the others, with its fronds spilling out in every direction. But that's the charm of it. I thought we might finish this one together. I'll hold the base of the plant steady while you help me tuck the fresh soil into the gaps. Don't worry about being precise. The earth is patient. Just feel the texture of it, cool and a bit damp, filling in the hollows around the roots. There's a quiet, shared momentum in a task like this. It's the kind of work that doesn't require a single word, yet it makes you feel. Do you see the way the light catches that copper mister sitting by your hand? It's got a few more dents than when I first bought it, but it still has that beautiful, dull glow. In a week where so many things felt fragile or stretched too thin, it's nice to work with things that have a bit of weight to them. Things that don't change just because the wind picks up or the news gets loud. We're just focusing on the now, the feeling of the clay, the scent of the wet moss, and the steady, rhythmic drumming of the rain just inches away. I'm going to reach for that ball of twine now. Listen to the way it rasps against the wood of the bench as I pull a length free. I'll just use a small piece to loosely gather these trailing fronds, giving them a bit of support while they find their footing in the new pot. It isn't meant to be a constraint. It's just a gentle hand to hold until they're strong enough to stand on their own. I think we all need a bit of that sometimes. A soft tether to keep us grounded when the weather gets a bit much to handle. Watch how the candle flame in the center of the bench is leaning just a fraction toward the glass. There's a tiny draft somewhere, a reminder that the storm is still trying its best to get in. But it won't. This house was built to hold the light, and these panes are much stronger than they look. It's a good feeling knowing you're exactly where you're supposed to be. No one is looking for you here. No one is asking you for the answers to big, heavy questions. We're just two gardeners tending to small things, making sure they have enough room to grow. I've placed a fresh stack of terracotta saucers over there. Once we finish this last tuck of soil, we'll set each pot on its own base. It's the final step in making them feel truly home. The rain is sheeting down the glass now in great, dark ribbons, turning the garden into a sanctuary of shadows. But here, between us, the light is steady. We've done good work tonight, the kind of work that settles the spirit and lets the heart rate find its own slow, natural pace again. Just keep your hands in the soil for another minute. Let the grounding weight of it remind you that you are here, you are safe, and you are tucked away from the noise. We're almost finished now, and the best part is yet to come, the quiet of the aftermath. We'll just finish this last knot in the twine, and then we can simply sit and watch the lantern light fade into the blue of the evening. We're in no hurry. The world can wait. There, that's the last of them settled. I'll just reach over and turn the wick down on the main lantern now. Listen to that tiny click of the metal cooling as the flame retreats. There. Now the garden house belongs to the shadows and the stove light. It's a different world in the dimness, isn't it? The greens of the ferns turn to deep emeralds and charcoals, and the glass walls seem to pull even closer around us. We've traded the bright focus of work for the soft, flickering orange of a night well spent. Going to set aside the twine and the shears. They've done their part for today. Look at the bench now, bathed in the glow of these stray candles I've lit along the edge. The wax is pooling slowly, dripping down the sides in thick, golden tears. In a week that's felt a bit like a race toward an invisible finish line, there's something deeply healing about watching a candle burn at its own pace. It doesn't worry about how much of itself is left. It just gives everything it has to the current moment. We could learn a lot from that, I think. The stove is still humming a low iron tune. Can you see the fire dancing behind the glass door? It's casting long, rhythmic shadows of the fern fronds against the flagstones, like the world is breathing along with us. I'll just add one small log. Hear that soft thump and the rush of sparks up the chimney? It's a sturdy warmth. It's a heat that knows how to linger, keeping the damp at bay while we let our own thoughts finally come to a rest. You don't need to do any more math tonight. You don't need to check the horizon for what's coming next. I've moved the botanical books a bit closer to your chair, just in case you feel like letting your eyes wander over the old drawings. But you don't have to. You have full permission to just sit there and watch the steam from your mug vanish into the shadows. The price of the world's noise has no value in here. We're operating on a different scale now, one measured in the slow unfurling of a leaf and the steady drumming of the rain against the roof. It's a fragile piece, perhaps, but it's an unshakable one because it's ours. I'm just going to take this soft cloth and wipe a bit of the stray earth from my hands. The water in the basin is still warm from the stove. It's a quiet domestic sound, the soft splash and the ringing of the fabric. We've left the space a little better than we found it tonight. The ferns have their new homes, the soil is tucked in tight, and we've found a bit of stillness for ourselves in the process. It's enough. In a week of big, overwhelming things, enough is a very grand thing indeed. Look at the jars of dried petals on the shelves. See how the candlelight catches the deep purples and faded pinks. They're just waiting for their turn to be useful, just like we're waiting for the morning to bring a bit of clarity. But the morning is a long way off. For now, there is only the orange light of the hearth and the blue-grey wash of the storm outside. You're tucked away in the greenest, safest corner of the woods, and no one is asking anything of you. I'll just settle back onto my stool and watch the embers for a while. The heavy lifting is done. The pots are lined up, the moss is damp, and the air is sweet with the scent of cedar and lemon balm. We'll just sit in this comfortable, shared dimness for a bit longer, letting the tension leave our hands and our hearts. The rain is still falling, but it's a lullaby now, not a threat. Just let the flickering light guide you toward a deeper sort of quiet. We're nearing the end of our watch, and the night is ready to take over. Just look at us now. From this little nook, the whole garden house looks like a jewel dropped into the middle of the dark, rainy woods. The glass is catching every stray flicker of candlelight, sending a soft, amber glow out into the night. It's a breathtaking sight, isn't it? Knowing that while the wind is tossing the heavy branches of the pines out there, this entire sanctuary is standing perfectly still, holding us and all these new little lives in a pocket of absolute peace. We've managed to create a world where the only thing that matters is the quiet, and it feels like the woods themselves are leaning in to listen. I'm going to settle back into my own corner now, My hands are still a bit cool from the river stones, but my heart feels remarkably light. It's a strange thing how tending to something as humble as a fern can make the bigger, louder worries of the week feel so very far away. I hope you're feeling that same drift. I hope the weight of the ledgers and the noise of the headlines have finally dissolved into the steady, rhythmic sound of the rain. You've done enough tonight. You've listened, you've rested, and you've given your mind permission to just stop. There are no more expectations here, no more roles to play. The fire in the stove is beginning to settle into a deep, pulsing red. The heavy logs have turned to glowing embers, and the kettle has finally stopped its singing, leaving only the low hum of the iron as it slowly cools. Even the cat hasn't moved a whisker. He's a soft, ginger shadow draped over the blanket, completely surrendered to the night. It's time for us to do the same, I think. I'm going to let my voice drop away now, but I'm not leaving you. I'll be right here in the shadows, keeping the watch so you don't have to. I'll stay until the last candle is nothing but a memory of light. You can close your eyes whenever you're ready. Don't worry about the lanterns. They'll burn themselves out in their own time, and the glass will hold the warmth of the stove long after the last coal fades to ash. The ferns are tucked in, their roots deep in that rich, dark earth, and the storm has turned into a rhythmic, distant humming that will carry you right through until morning. It's a safe harbour here, a reliable sanctuary that will be waiting for you whenever the world gets a bit too loud or the numbers in your head start to climb again. I'll just stay here for a few more minutes, watching the way the rain streaks down the high glass roof. It's a beautiful, relentless lullaby, isn't it? Sheeting down in great grey curtains that blur the rest of the world into a memory. There's no need to listen to me anymore. My words have done their work, and now the quiet is ready to do its part. Just feel the weight of your own breath, as slow and steady as the rising mist. The night is vast, but you are tucked away in the greenest, warmest heart of it. Everything that felt fragile earlier this week is held safely behind these panes now. I'm reaching for the old plaid throw now, just to pull it up over my knees. The air is getting that crisp midnight edge to it, but the smell of the damp earth and the lemon balm is still hanging thick and sweet in the air. We've found a rare thing tonight, a moment when nothing is broken and nothing is lacking. It's a complete circle. We'll just sit and watch the blue of the storm fade into the deep black of the late hours. The glass is our shield, and the garden is our grace. The hearth is low. The work is finished. Rest well, my friend. May your dreams be as green and quiet as this garden house. When you wake, the world will still be there, but you'll carry a little bit of this stillness with you. Sleep now. Just sleep. The rain is still falling, but it's a lullaby now, not a threat. Just let the flickering light guide you toward a deeper sort of quiet. We're nearing the end of our watch, and the night is ready to take over.